We see the Obama administration as looking a lot like the Clinton one, which is not to dismiss it, but just to point to that without a massive grassroots coalition, we're not going to get any uh, any real change, and there's any real hope that we really have to keep organizing, building these links, and making sure that the consciousness that is against the system that's coming through all these foreclosures and bailouts isn't siphoned off by the Pat Buchanans of the world to blame the wrong set of people.
You're listening to Live from the Heartland, WLUW 88.7, listener-supported community radio, Loyola University's community radio station. Live from the Heartland is on every Saturday morning at 9 to 10. And you can see back issues on YouTube at Heartland Media, or you can go to heartlandcafe.com/media and find some of them, and there'll be more. We have a young videographer who's here at work, Evan West, and he's been taking a lot of pictures lately and going through a lot of the old archives. I'm Michael James. I'm talking with James Tracy, and we're talking about his new book coming out on white working class organizing, and he is in town today to appear at the area event. That's Art, Research, Education, and Activism, to be held at the Jane Addams Center today at what time?
2 o'clock.
Starts at 2 o'clock. We know when you were talking about Obama, James, you said basically you were talking about we're going to have to push from the bottom up. And that's the position, I think, that those of us who come out of a community organizing experience, and I say hallelujah, when Obama first used the term, I was a community organizer, it just brought back, because that's what I had wanted to be, that's what I was, and we stopped using that term. They talked about networking, and it just, we didn't have that, people weren't using that term. And then, I had interviewed Obama at the Heartland on this radio show, and we'd had a rally. You can all see that all at the Heartland Media Project. But I wasn't convinced. It was great to have him there, and it was great to meet him. But then I watched, it wasn't Frontline, but it was some documentary where Obama was in his community organizing phase. And I said, this guy knows what it's like. He knows what poor people are about. He's experienced. This isn't just going and passing out food somewhere. He was knocking on doors. So I have a lot of hope and a lot of faith. I also think that when he says, I can't do it alone, he's serious, that he needs to be pushed. And so the challenge to the progressives and those who become progressive is really going to be to not so much moan and complain about, say, Clinton-esque era appointees, but to go about building organization.
Absolutely.
Because change is not coming from the top down. The top will let us move more freely than we did before. So you as an organizer, and you've been an organizer around housing issues and other issues in San Francisco, and let me just in passing say, do you ever know the name Mike Miller?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because he was an early, a guy that I looked to. He was organizing housing stuff in San Francisco, went on to work with Alinsky's area, whatever that foundation is called. But Mike was an inspiration then. But so you did housing organizing. You are an activist guy and a poet. Tell us what you think needs to happen at the grassroots level. When you talk to younger people today, what are you going to tell them about how should organize, or give them ideas?
Well, one of the biggest challenges to organizing today is that organizing is slow, and we also need to move fast because
both are true at the same time.
Global warming, economic collapse. We don't have a lot of time, and suffice to say that we're a lot farther along in coming up with alternatives and having the power in place. We could have taken advantage of this moment, even to a great extent, and really push forward some interesting change already. We don't. So I think that one of the things that we have to really overcome is the atomization of the movements. It's good to be focused, but when we have housing advocates, environmental justice advocates, labor advocates, well, we need to stop being advocates and really go back to becoming a movement, which doesn't mean that we have to dissolve all these groups and become one gigantic political party or anything like that, but we actually have to figure out how how we work together in broad-based coalitions in a way, basically class politics that don't ask people to sacrifice their racial identities, their gender concerns, their sexuality, but is really big tent politics that takes the best from class politics and the best from identity politics, and moves forward. And also remembers that change doesn't always happen at the ballot box. If we become so enamored with the fact that we can get progressives into office, and we forget about the good old-fashioned tactic of direct action, which Obama actually glorified in an essay he wrote for a book called Beyond Alinsky, we'll be lost.
No, I think that's important. I think that I don't know when the term "the movement" slipped away. But it was like certainly coming out of the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, the women's movement into the 60s, into the 70s. We were the movement. And then I guess it was in the 80s. The 80s were slower.
Yeah.
Now, James Tracy, you last time you were in town, you gave me a little book of poems. I don't know if you call it a chat book or what do you call that book?
Pocketbook.
Pocketbook. So you write poetry.
I do.
Can you do a poem for us from memory, or do you need your bag? We're going to get his bag. We got Tess Kleinhaus, who was our earlier guest on this show, talking about what was going on in Santo Domingo down in Oaxaca. She has been now helping out with the rest of the show. I wish she was, if she decides not to be a big lawyer, she could certainly be a hostess and work on Live from the Heartland and all of those projects. Okay, we've got the book. We've got the pocket book, and we're going to get a poem from James Tracy, the great organizer from San Francisco. You're an anarchist, right?
I would call myself a libertarian socialist. I take a lot from the anarchist
So you can
tradition.
vote?
Yeah, I can vote.
Oh, good.
But I voted. But this piece is called "We Vote Every Day."
Good.
I'm always suspicious of parties: Republican ones, Democratic ones, green ones, red ones, old ones, first ones, third ones. I have an infantile disorder. It's a simple love of the people that burns like a ballot stuffed inside a Molotov cocktail. And I have often clamped a clothespin on my nose and punched Chad and pulled that lever. But I really believe that every single cook can govern, and behind every "Hi, can I take your order?" lies a hidden analysis. I believe that hammers and nails can build so much more than luxury lofts, and teachers aren't the reasons that schools fall apart. I believe that war is the cardiac arrest of the state, and junkies and crackheads, well, they have names besides junkies and crackheads, and the rattle of spare change cups might become the tune of a new revolutionary song. Robin Hood was not the only one who was right. Harriet Tubman was right, because the road to freedom must sometimes be walked with a rifle, and John Brown was right, because there is more to life than what is painted white. Ricardo Flores Magón was right, because borders are just scars on this beautiful, beautiful earth. And Lucy Parsons was right, because a woman's place is front and center in this fight. And I believe that Eugene Debs served his country better from prison than any president has from the White House. And the most important choices we make are on the days in between the elections. The picket lines walked, the homes unevicted, the communities mobilized, cynicism conquered, empires deleted, meanings for once not lost in translation, kindness given, love made, and to that extent you know that each and every one of us votes every single day.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I like that. Can we run that in the Heartland Journal in the spring issue?
Definitely.
Okay, so you heard it here first. It's going in the Heartland Journal. Okay, let's go one more time, James. Tell us where and when this event is today.
All right.
Go ahead.
Join Area Magazine, and their magazine release party just dropped today. 2 o'clock over at the Jane Addams Whole House Museum at the University of Illinois.
And I would encourage people to go check out the Chicago Rainbow Coalition exhibit, which are photos from the Rising Up Angry and Join archives, which are at the Heartland Cafe in the back room. And there is a show at DePaul in the library, which is located at Fullerton and Kenmore into the first week of January. It's really worth seeing. There's also a Black-Brown museum exhibit of the Panthers and the Young Lords. Actually, the way that the second exhibit happened was because they didn't have Panthers and Lords photos from Chicago, so they came to me. I want to let you all know that there's about 240 union workers, that's United Electrical Workers Union, who are sitting in right now at Chicago's Republic windows and doors. They were let go without giving them 60 days notice or 60 days worth of pay. They're looking for their vacation benefits, and so this is down there on Goose Island. And before you drink any cerveza by that same name, you may want to check out what's going on next door over there at the Republic windows, because there's a big sit-in. This is Michael James. I want to thank everybody who's involved with the show, from Evan West, the videographer, to Susan, who's the in-house engineer here today, to my co-hosts Lisa Smith and Katie Hogan, to our producer Laura Herman, and a bunch of other people who make this show possible. As always, we encourage you to do good in the world. The good world needs all the good that you do. All power to the people. Over and out.
Right on. Thank you.